Welcome to This Explainer. Let's dive right in, because today we're looking at a truly fascinating perspective on a practice that has captivated us for thousands of years. Now, when a lot of folks think of a birth chart, they kind of picture a mystical fortune-telling tool, right? Like a way to figure out if they'll land that perfect job or hit the jackpot. But the perspective we're unpacking today actually flips that whole concept on its head. Instead of treating astrology as a crystal ball to look outward, we're going to reframe it as a profoundly deep mirror for the human psyche. So what part of yourself still waits for acceptance? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? Astrology rarely starts with a question like that, yet every single chart quietly points right to it. We spend so much of our lives running from our own shadows, desperately trying to clip off the edges of our personalities that just don't quite fit the mold. But what if those edges aren't mistakes at all? Look, we typically use astrology to try and game the system, right? Predicting the future, chasing success, avoiding hardship. But the chart's true underlying purpose is actually something entirely different. The greatest journey here isn't predicting what's going to happen to you. It's recognizing the qualities you've spent years trying to reject and finally finding radical self-acceptance. It's literally about looking at those hidden, tucked away parts of yourself and going, oh, there you are. To really get this, we're going to take a metaphorical journey through the inner solar system. Think of your birth chart not as some fixed, unavoidable destiny, but as a map of your internal landscape, where every single placement hides a piece of your psychology that is just asking to be seen without judgment. Section 1. The True Astrological Journey. Section 2. Identity and Deep Emotions. Okay, let's start right at the absolute center of it all with the two most fundamental anchors of the chart, the sun and the moon. Let's look at the duality here. The sun represents the identity you consciously build. It's the you that you show the world. It's all about conscious action and seeking recognition. But every sun casts a shadow. That intense desire to shine often masks a hidden, deeper need for validation. And then we have the moon, which carries memories deeper than words. Its conscious action is all about protecting old experiences, familiar comforts, and silent fears. But its hidden need, that's acknowledging those emotions without shame. It's realizing that your automatic reactions are really just protective memories trying to keep you safe. We spend an incredible amount of energy trying to prove our worth. We strive for achievements just to validate our own existence. But really, why do we feel that need to prove our worth in the first place? The house containing the sun often reveals the specific area of your life where feeling accepted matters far more to you than actual achievement. So true growth only really begins when your intrinsic value is completely detached from that exhausting cycle of constant external validation. There is an incredibly beautiful realization to be found here. The feeling you keep trying to suppress may simply be asking to be understood instead of defeated. Just let that sink in for a second. So often we look at our sadness, our anxiety, or even our nostalgic clinging as these enemies we have to conquer. But healing doesn't always mean you have to completely rewire those deep emotional patterns. Sometimes it literally just asks you to accept them, to sit with them, to finally give them the grace of your understanding. Section 3. Mind, Value, and Action. So we've explored our core identity and emotions, but now let's look at how we think, what we value, and how we fight. Consider Mercury. It reflects the ongoing conversations inside your own mind and how you interpret the world. Maybe you have a Mercury that questions absolutely everything or overthinks every tiny little decision. That isn't a flaw. The mind actually calms down when it finally stops fighting its own nature. Next up is Venus. Venus shows us what we value, sure, but it also uncovers a tough truth. It points to the parts of yourself that you honestly believe need to become more attractive or successful before you deserve love. We spend years chasing external approval based on comparisons we never even consciously chose. The goal here is simple, but huge. Stop the quiet self-rejection. Find your own heart's standards. And then there's Mars. Action, courage, desire. Now, not everyone expresses Mars in this obvious, aggressive way. Some are direct confronters for sure, but others, they're quiet protectors. Some act as forceful leaders, while others are persistent guides. And the thing is, problems only pop up when you compare your natural way of taking action with someone else's. Accepting your own unique style of courage, whatever that happens to look like, is infinitely more powerful than trying to fake someone else's confidence. Section 4. Growth, Patience, and Change. As we journey further out to the social planets, we start to confront our greatest discomforts and unlock our highest potential. This brings us to Jupiter, the planet of expansion, which offers this brilliant insight. Sometimes your greatest gift waits behind your own hesitation. Jupiter pushes for expansion, yeah, but it also reveals exactly where you're underestimating your own capacity. A lot of us are actually terrified of becoming too visible, too knowledgeable, or too influential. Why? Because true growth brings responsibility. We often hide our abilities not because we don't have them, but because fully stepping into our potential feels surprisingly uncomfortable. And speaking of uncomfortable, we have to talk about Saturn. Saturn points directly to the places in life that feel heavy, delayed, or super demanding. These are the exact areas we criticize ourselves for the absolute most. But here's the thing. Saturn asks for patience, not perfection. I absolutely love this framing. Weakness is just character under construction. Those heavy, demanding areas of your life, they represent the slow building of long-term stability. They are not reasons for constant, crushing self-judgment. Finding acceptance here creates the emotional stability you need to actually keep going. So how do we handle the forces of evolution represented by the lunar nodes, Rahu and Ketu? Well, Rahu pulls you toward unfamiliar experiences that really challenge your confidence. It's the terrifying new frontier. K2, on the flip side, is that nagging reminder that your old identities have simply become way too small for who you're becoming. Together, they create intense discomfort. But this discomfort of change isn't your enemy. It's really just an introduction to a completely new version of yourself that you simply haven't allowed to exist yet. Section 5. Welcoming every part home. All right, after journeying through the inner and outer planets, it's time to pull all this together into a singular message of acceptance. This perspective on astrology completely reframes how we view ourselves. Where we perceive a vulnerability, it actually reveals an unexpected wisdom. Where we see a glaring imperfection, it sees a source of the deepest understanding. And where we battle what we think is a difficult trait, the chart shows us a unique challenge and possibility. When you finally stop fighting your own imperfections, you don't erase them, you transform your entire relationship with them. And that brings us to the core takeaway of our explainer today. Astrology doesn't ask you to become someone completely different. It asks whether you can recognize the person who is already reflected right there in your chart. The goal was never about trying to figure out what destiny has planned for you so you can game the system. It's about recognizing the person who has been there all along, buried underneath the expectations and the self-judgment. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you willing to welcome every part of yourself that has been waiting, quietly and patiently, to come home? Let that question linger in your mind today as you think about those parts of yourself you usually try to keep hidden. Maybe it's time to finally open the door. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this fresh perspective gives you something wonderful to reflect on. Keep learning and keep growing.